ain't stop. Fuck around, make my 40 pop. No popcorn, I pop pistols, reaming my body.
Alright guys, today I want to talk about the possibility of us seeing a brand new Otsutsuki member in the series of Boruto. Now, me personally, I think it's going to be inevitable, and I talked about this for a very long time already. Naruto and Sasuke are at the point where they're probably not going to be challenged by any regular shinobi, and I do want to point this out very quickly. If you guys are anime only, I'm probably going to talk a lot about some manga stuff. It's probably going to be spoilers to a lot of you guys. Now, into the actual video, even though Naruto and Sasuke did lose their respective hacks abilities, of course the Rinnegan and Karma respectively, I still think there is no possible way Shinobi can actually rival them, and because of that they have to outsource this to potential Otsutsuki members in the future. Now of course I do want to point out that isn't necessarily completely set in stone, and that isn't necessarily a complete necessity because of the introduction of the scientific technology, but I personally believe it probably won't necessarily stray that far away into the future where literally every other anime is going to be made from scientific technology. I just don't necessarily think that's going to be possible. So for a new Otsutsuki member to actually be introduced to the series of Boruto, I think they have to be a brand new Otsutsuki member. And I don't necessarily mean a brand new Otsutsuki member in just the idea of a character, but I think it has to be a brand new Otsutsuki member in the theory of their own ideals. For example, the Otsutsuki members that we have seen before, their ideals were to actually gather power and gather chakra. They want to grab the 10 tails or create a 10 tails, plant it, and of course make a god tree, and then eat the chakra fruit. We've seen this from Momoshiki, we've seen this from Kaguya, we've seen this from, of course, the other tertiary Otsutsuki members like Kinshiki and Urashiki, and we also see it now with Isshiki Otsutsuki. I believe if there is another villain that actually come from the Otsutsuki clan, they have to have different ideals. Now I'm not necessarily sure exactly what it's possibly going to be, potentially like revenge or something like that, or it could potentially be a systematic change that an Otsutsuki member wants to take for himself. For example, he wants to conquer all dimensions, or it could potentially be something very righteous like how modern Obito's ideals were actually back in Naruto Shippuden. It has to be something completely brand new. Now one of the things that I've pretty much been talking about for like the past couple of weeks, and not necessarily on YouTube, but we've completely forgotten all about the Byakugan and the Tenseigan. I mean, coming into the anime of Boruto, we all thought there was probably going to be the anime or the series about the Hyuga clan, because of course the leader, or excuse me, the main character of the whole series was from the Hyuga clan. It turns out we've completely strayed away from that. I would absolutely love for a brand new Otsutsuki member to be introduced with the Tenseigan, and of course when we do see Otsutsuki members be introduced with the Byakugan, they barely, and I mean barely, use the Byakugan. I would really love if they dive more into that dojutsu. And of course, one of the biggest proponents, or one of the biggest downfalls to that dojutsu potentially being in this anime is of course the sealing of Toneri Otsutsuki. Now I am sure that almost every other Boruto fan shares the sentiment. We really want Toneri to be unsealed. I think Toneri would possibly be a very good teacher in Boruto's life, and of course not only that, he could potentially be a very good partner alongside Naruto and Sasuke when things like Isshiki Otsutsuki do actually pop up and do actually arise. I mean, of course, Toneri versus Urashiki wasn't necessarily anything too crazy, man, because Toneri himself was completely blind. I don't necessarily know why Toneri was on the moon, not necessarily looking for any new eyes. That's besides the point. But one thing that I do want to point out is the fact that there's obviously a market and a want among the Boruto fans for a good Otsutsuki member. Now again, because Toneri was already one that was introduced into the Boruto series, we all think Toneri could potentially be that guy if he was actually unsealed. But if there is a new Otsutsuki member that was introduced in the series of Boruto that is actually good, that is actually on the side of Naruto and Sasuke, I'm pretty sure that guy right there would probably vault up to be one of the best characters in the Boruto series, just because of the sheer fact that he's not from this earth. He's extremely mystique, and of course we learn a lot about the Otsutsuki clan from that character. And speaking of learning from the Otsutsuki clan from that character, or potentially a good Otsutsuki member, of course I have to talk about a potential Otsutsuki arc in the future of the Boruto series. One of the things that a lot of people have been talking about is potential backstory about Momoshiki Otsutsuki. One of the reasons why people really want a backstory about Momoshiki Otsutsuki is because Momoshiki Otsutsuki is most likely 9 times out of 10 going to be a part of the Boruto series for a very long time, probably even throughout the whole series of the Boruto series. This is going to be that simple. And a lot of people do compare Momoshiki to Karma. Of course, Karma being the demon fox, being the power inside of Naruto, Momoshiki being a demon, the power inside of Boruto. Of course, we got the backstory of how Karma came to be. We got the backstory about how all the Tail Beasts came to be later on in the Naruto series. So I 100% would not be surprised if we were to get an arc or an explanation about exactly how Momoshiki came to be, and a lot more in-depth explanations about the Otsutsuki clan in general. I think that right there could definitely be a very amazing arc. But all in all, I'm gonna tell you guys right now, I just really do not necessarily see a future in where we don't really get another Otsutsuki sighting in the future after Isshiki Otsutsuki. Now, the only possible way I could kind of see that is, of course, Naruto and Sasuke actually dying, man. Because if Naruto and Sasuke actually dies, it kind of evens the playing field, even though Boruto is still kind of unfair because he does have Momoshiki inside of his body. But if they rectify that, potentially try to like balance that, I could see Boruto just being an elite figure, just like similar to how Hashirama or Madara was back in the day. Obviously not necessarily to that level, because Boruto is probably going to be stronger than them, even though that's insane to say. But regardless, it could potentially be similar to that, but I don't necessarily think that's going to be the case. I mean, everybody already expects Boruto to surpass Naruto, even though I continuously say it's probably not going to happen. Even though I think it's probably not going to happen, I think Boruto is probably going to be at least equal to Naruto, and I think that right there is definitely something that we could probably bank on. And if that's actually the case, I mean, I don't necessarily see a regular shinobi actually going against Boruto. Now, one of the things that I kind of wanted to ask you guys, I mean, piggybacking off of the idea that there could potentially be a brand new enemy in the future, if there is a brand new enemy, do you guys want it to be before Kawaki and Boruto part ways and become enemies themselves, or do you want it to be potentially after and have Kawaki be the last enemy? And I talked about this multiple times. I don't necessarily think that Kawaki is going to be the final villain, but I think if there is Otsutsuki members before Kawaki and Boruto kind of cross paths and actually do become enemies, Boruto and Kawaki post time skip, potentially when they both have their karma seals, going all out to pretty much defeat a foe like an Otsutsuki member. I think that right there would probably be a very good arc before they do actually start the conflict between Boruto and Kawaki. But as always, let me know what you guys think about this in the comment section below, and give me what you guys think. Do you guys think that we're probably going to get to see another Otsutsuki member in the future? And if we do, what do you guys think his overall ideal should be? Do you guys like what we've seen already, for example, with the Otsutsuki members that only want power for themselves, or do you guys want a systematic change in the Otsutsuki members' ideology? For example, I talked about an Otsutsuki member that just wants to rule all dimensions, or an Otsutsuki member that has righteous intent, similar to like Pain or Obito back in the day in Naruto Shippuden. But it's been your boy Baara B, and we out.
It's a knife.